To me, power is having a huge amount of influence, right? You have a vision that people believe in, or your message is so compelling that people will follow you, or you convince someone that it's a different direction that you want to take. So I define power as having a huge amount of influence, creating a lot of followership from diverse groups of people.
You've talked a lot about advancing women in tech and mentoring women, and I read that you said that you felt that women often give up their power, that they share it. What did you mean by that? And was there a time that you gave up your power in your career?
Yeah, I think, in general, women, I feel, are very collaborative by nature, and I'm generalizing here, and I'm sure there are exceptions in both genders for both this. But I think in general, if there is many women, more often than not, if you do something that is brilliant, you will tend to say, my team did it, right? And you share the credit and the power as most leaders should, I think. But oftentimes that is seen as a weakness rather than a strength, whereas male leaders in general, and I think Cheryl talks about this in her book too. If someone compliments you, we never say thank you. We just say, oh, that was nothing. And I think so. I think these are all things that we sometimes do that eventually sort of diminish the power that you have. And yeah, I mean, have I given away my power and learned that? I think I have. But at the same time, I think people, it's also something I can say you shouldn't do, because I think I find, and I tell people, actually giving credit to others, even though it's a great idea, actually lets the execution happen much faster. If you tell someone, make it their idea, they'll run for you and make sure it gets done faster. How do you do that without seeming like you're giving up your authority, right?
There were very, very few women in your field starting off. Obviously some gains, but still today there's a lot of conversation around how few women there are in the tech field. How has gender influenced your career in ways that have created both opportunities but also potentially challenges?
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, there are still very, very few women in the tech industry in general, and then more specifically, even in the tech industry in engineering, the numbers are even smaller, right? I think we are seeing more women executives in leading technology companies and starting technology companies, but still very fewer number in leading engineering and leading technical functions within these companies. And that I wish would change and change faster. For me, it was, I would say, a mixed blessing. It's pretty intimidating and very lonely at times. You sort of feel like you're the only woman in not only meeting environments, but even at conferences. You go to a technology conference or an engineering conference, there are very few women. At the same time, it's a blessing in the fact that I often tell this to other women that I mentor. You do get noticed because there are fewer women, and so people kind of tend to remember you as the only woman in the room who said that, or the only woman in the room who's an engineer or something like that. And I tell women, use that to your advantage. The fact that you do have a unique platform, for me anyway, has served to be a platform where I can get my message across and I can get heard. I think so. I tend to see it sometimes as, how can I use that to my advantage versus being intimidated by the fact that there is only me in a room full of men. Hi, this is Padmasree Warrior. I'm at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. It's been an exciting couple of days for me here. So I want to start by sharing with you what I saw. You spent many, many years at Motorola and are at Cisco today.
When you look back at the diverse roles that you held, what was the toughest transition for you as a leader?
I think the toughest transition for me, as for most people with technical background, is moving from being a great engineer to becoming a great leader, and there is a big difference. I became a project leader very early in my career. I think I worked at Motorola for just a couple of years when I had to lead a team of engineers. And it's a big change. I think you sort of learn, I think for me anyway, I learned that being a leader is not about just knowing all the answers. In fact, you are very ineffective as a leader if you try to provide all the answers all the time. People stop thinking and they're like, okay, well, she's going to tell us what to do anyway, why bother? And I think you have to learn, how do you get ideas out of people? How do you draw people's ideas in? And it's very difficult. Even today, I meet very senior leaders that struggle at that. You know, oftentimes we think leaders are supposed to be decisive and put your opinion out there. And yeah, you need to do all of that. But I think the greatest attribute to a leader is to hire great people and to develop great people. And for that, sometimes you have to step back and let your team shine more than you. And I think that, for me, was the biggest learning. And it was the hardest to accept, especially in a technical field. We are trained to do problem solving. And you know, all of us jump in to solve the problems, and you have to step back and say, no, I'm going to let my team solve the problem. And that's how I can be effective.